Alright guys, so I'm sure by this point most of you have got some kind of turtle homage in your collection, but have you got a quartz one? Because that's what this is. But as you can see, there's also some other interesting stuff going on with this too, and it's coming in at a really great price, especially considering the specs that you're actually getting, which is something that we've come to expect from this brand. So this is the review of the Addiesdive AD2507. So it comes in the standard Addiesdive packaging, so I'm not going to go into detail on that, you've seen it plenty of times before, so we'll get right down into this. As you can see, I've got the white dial with green bezel. They also do a white dial with blue bezel, and then a black dial with black bezel. But no matter which one you go for, they all have that vertical stripe pattern on the dial, which depending on the angle is more or less visible. So now let's talk about the price, because as I said, this is a really good deal at the moment. It's actually on sale until the 5th of September, so it's currently £45, which is about $60 and about €51. Link will be down in the description as always. So now let's move on to the dimensions. So we've got a diameter of 43.8mm, thickness of 11.8mm, lug width of 20, then the all-important lug to lug is coming in at 47, and then when it comes to the weight on this supply bracelet, with all the links included, it's coming in at about 176 grams, and then size for my 7-inch wrist, coming in at about 159. So we'll take a closer look at this, starting with the clasp, because there is something I need to talk about here. So as you can see, it's unbranded, 3 levels of micro adjust, fold over, double pushers, and it is just a pressed clasp unfortunately. But you can upgrade it to a milled one really cheaply, so I'll leave a link to that in the description too. Got a standard Addiesdive case back, so we're not going to go into detail on that. So now moving on to the bracelet, it's fully brushed on top, polished sides, and then it is just push pins. So again, fairly basic, but kind of expected given the price of the watch. But the head of the watch is where all the good stuff is. So the finishing mirrors that of the bracelet, so we've got polished sides and then brushing on top, which does mean it might gather fingerprints and scratches a little bit easily. And then, as you'd expect with this kind of style of case, we've got the integrated crown guards, and then that signed crown with the Addiesdive logo too. And then you can also see that coin edge bezel, and then you can see that crystal sticking out ever so slightly past the top of that. And we will be checking in a bit if that is sapphire, obviously. But now let's take a closer look at that dial. And now you can see a bit more clearly that vertical striped pattern. We've got applied indices, which have a nice silver surround on them, so they do catch the light, as will something else on the crystal, and that is the AR. And you can see it does have a slight blue tinge to it, which again is to be expected given the price of the watch. Printed logo and Addiesdive branding at the top, and then down at the bottom, just above the 6, we've got waterproof 200 meters, 660 feet. Personally, I just get rid of the waterproof bit, you don't need that. And then we've got that date window at the 3 o'clock, which is quite nicely integrated with that truncated index, so it kind of matches the one on the other side at the 9. And then we've got that slip chapter ring, matching the colour of the bezel. And then nicely polished faceted hands, which also catch the light, as well as having a good amount of lume on them as well. And we will be checking that lume in a bit. Before we do that though, first of all we need to check if we've got sapphire crystal on this or not, using the trusty diamond selector too. And yep, we have. So that is really good, especially again considering the price. So now let's get onto the bezel, because again this is really high quality given the price. So it's a 120 click ceramic bezel. So I'll show you that in action now. Nice clicky action, no back play at all, and not too heavy, not too light, just right. And when it comes to the alignment, just get a zoom in so you can see that. And on my particular one, that's spot on too. So now let's talk about the movement. This is a quartz piece, and it's using the Miyota 2115. So I'll show you this in action now. So I've got a screw down crown. No issues accessing that, despite the case design. And then if we pop it out to the first position, we'll be able to change the date if I turn it the right way. And then if we pop it out to the second position, you'll see the second hand stops, so we have hacking. And then obviously we can just change the time. And then once we get to the time we want, if we pop it back in, the second hand will re-engage. So yeah, it's a pretty basic quartz movement, but it does the job. Would have been nice to see a VH movement in this, so we had that sweeping quartz, but other than that, I can't really fault it too much. So now it's time to get onto the lume and see if that's up to Addiesdive's usual standards. So, as you can see, we've got that nice ice blue colour of the BGW9, and plenty of it on the hands, indices, and also the fully lume bezel. And initially at least, it's looking pretty consistent across all of them. As I said, Addiesdive are normally pretty good when it comes to lume. They definitely punch above their weight. But the question as always is, what is the longevity like? So let's speed this up now and find out. So to begin with, not a great deal of change, but the question I'm really wondering is is that bezel going to fade before everything else, especially those dots. So far then, it's looking pretty good, and it's all still really consistent across the hands, indices and the whole of that bezel. Yes, it is all beginning to fade slightly, but not a great deal, and again, it's fading at an even rate between everything, which is really good to see. They've really equalised all the Lume across the different elements really well, so pretty impressive Lume. So all that's left to do now is show you what it's like on wrist, go over the pros and cons, and then you can decide whether you want to pick one of these up or not. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. So I think those look really good, and as you come to expect with this kind of style of watch, it wears really well too. I really like the design on the dial with that vertical striping, just brings something a little bit different to your standard turtle homages. And despite just having that pressed clasp, it still wears well, as I say, and if you do want to upgrade that, you can do quickly and easily, and for not very much at all. So as I said before, the bracelet and clasp are fairly basic, but they've definitely not cut costs when it comes to the head of the watch, apart from maybe the movement obviously. So wears really nicely, nice compact look to lug. Thickness isn't too bad either because we've got quartz. Just the finishing on the head of the watch in particular, with that lovely dial, that ceramic 120 click bezel, sapphire crystal, nice finishing on the hands and the indices so they do catch the light, as does that coin edge on the bezel. And then you've also got that really impressive Lume as well, which certainly punches well above its weight. And I've been saying it throughout the video, but I think for the money you're paying, you're getting quite a lot of watch. But that doesn't mean it's perfect. There are a few things that I would change. So the main thing for me is I'd like to see that waterproof text just removed from the dial. You don't need that there. Perhaps they could actually include a milled clasp, because it is not very much more, as I say, so it would only bump up the price slightly. But let me know if you agree on that one or not. And the main thing that some people might have an issue with is the movement itself. As I say, it's a fairly basic one, the Miyota 2115. I think it would have been nice if they'd at least offered an option to have a VH movement or something, so you get that sweeping quartz, because I'm sure that would be a preference for some people and they'd be willing to pay a little bit more. But again, let me know down in the comments if you agree with that or not, and whether you're one of those people who would. So overall, I think it is a really impressive watch for the money they're asking for, especially during this sale. So if you do want to pick one up, make sure you do it by the 5th of September while the sale is still on, otherwise the price is going to go up a bit. Because again, for £45 to have 120 click ceramic bezel, sapphire crystal, really impressive Lume, nice dial, nicely finished hands and indices, I think it's a bit of a bargain. And if you do add that upgraded milled clasp for a few pounds, it's going to make it even better. So if you do want to pick up the watch and or the clasp, check the links in the description. They are affiliate links, do help support the channel, but you don't pay any extra. And if you want to see the other Addiesdive watches I've reviewed so far, I'll leave a link to the playlist at the end. But that's it for this one guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.